The country of Mauritius is located in the midst of the Indian Ocean, east of Madagascar in the continent of Africa. After the Dutch occupation of the island from 1638 until 1710, the French took possession in 1715, and renamed the island, Île de France. They brought slaves predominantly from Madagascar and East Africa to work the sugar fields. Also, around 12,000 Indians were brought over by the French, which included stonemasons, blacksmiths, and carpenters who worked under contracts, and also many were slaves as well. After the legislative changes of 1767, these Indian immigrants were allowed to start their own businesses and buy lands. During the Napoleonic Wars, the British took control of Mauritius, following the invasion of November 1810. And after the abolition of slavery in 1833 and liberation of about 65,000 African and Malagasy slaves, a need for a new workforce arose. This was due to the fact that the now free ex-slaves had a disdain towards the agricultural labor that had defined their low social status, and thus they quit the sugar cane fields in favor of becoming fishermen, craftsmen, or subsistence farmers. Thus, faced with this labor shortage, the Franco-Mauritian plantation owners and sugar oligarchs imported indentured labor, primarily from India. In fact, indentured labor was first implemented in Mauritius, and between 1834 and 1920, nearly 700,000 Indian indentured laborers arrived at Port Louis. These laborers were mostly brought from the Bhojpuri-speaking regions of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, with a large number of Tamils, Telugus and Marathis amongst them. The Indian workers were contracted to work for a 5-year period against a monthly income of 5 rupees, and they were to be repatriated to India at the end of their indenture. Housed in the sheds, they slept on the floor covered with bitumen. 6 large sheds at the peak of immigration were used to house up to 1,000 immigrants a day. At these sheds, they stayed for 3 days after arrival before being distributed to the respective local sugar estates or sent to other colonies. These immigrants worked mostly in sugar estates or in the construction of public infrastructures. The wages were often not paid regularly, contracts were extended as a result of various penalties, and above all, the repatriation was badly organized. Those who were no longer subject to indenture contracts set up businesses as small traders or worked on their own land. In 1899, despite opposition from the British government, a law was passed allowing their children born on the island to acquire French nationality. During the later part of this period, many free immigrants also arrived from India. These later arrivals were commonly employed by the British in the armed forces, police forces, as security personnel, with a substantial portion of immigrants from Gujarat and Sindh arriving as traders, businessmen, and merchants. After the end of indenture, in total 2/3 of the indentured laborers had settled in Mauritius on a permanent basis. In the period between the 2 world wars, the principles of Arya Samaj began to infiltrate the Hindu community, who clamored for more social justice. Until 1926, there had been no Indo-Mauritian representation in the Legislative Council. However, at the 1926 elections, Dunputh Lala and Rajkumar Gujjar became the first Indo-Mauritians to be elected to the Legislative Council. Over the next few decades, Indo-Mauritians were actively involved and were often at the forefront in the struggle for better labor rights. This resulted in them stamping their dominance in the political arena after the end of Second World War, while 1960 saw the rise in the racial tensions amid many assaults on Indo-Mauritians. The Indian diaspora in Mauritius looms large in the political, economic, and cultural mold of the island. Its sheer size is key to this prominence, especially after the independence of Mauritius in 1968, which can be ascertained from the fact that all presidents except Karl Hoffmann and all prime ministers except for Paul Berenger have been members of the community. Today, Mauritians of Indian descent comprise around 68% of the country's estimated 1.3 million population. It consists of mainly Hindus with Muslim, Christian and Buddhist minorities. The mother tongue of almost all Mauritians is the Mauritian Creole, while a minority of Indo-Mauritians still use both their ancestral languages and Creole at home. Thanks to almost 50% of the country's population being Hindu, most Hindu celebrations are public holidays. Indian influence is felt in cuisine, music and arts as well, while Indian films are also widely popular. Therefore it is quite clear that in post-colonial Mauritius, political rule has been dominated by Indo-Mauritians, specifically Hindus. But in spite of that, the political institutions in the country have ensured representation of the different ethnic groups. This fosters a feeling of justice and equity in terms of representation of diverse interests. Also, this has been a major factor which has enabled Mauritius to maintain peace and political stability despite the prevalence of ethnic fragmentation in Mauritian society. Thus the vibrant Indian diaspora in Mauritius is a shining example of the Indian or Hindu values such as peace, pluralism and shared progress and universal brotherhood.